members, but go ahead. I don't see anybody in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, there's first of all, I want to thank everyone for participating today. And you know, unfortunately, time and time again, the administration seems to want to stand in the way of patient access to innovation in a lot of ways. I think that they don't understand, in large part, what it takes to develop a new medication. A friend of mine, he started his own company, and his first drug was an Alzheimer's drug, and it failed. There's no revenue from that, and but fortunately, he bounced back with a couple other drugs that became FDA approved. And so, I'm concerned that they might want to continue to hamper future therapeutic developments with similar type decisions. And I believe if we get out of the way, we're going to see some very advanced developments in therapeutics in the coming years. And we're already starting to see some incredible progress with innovations like CAR T therapy. And I think that gene therapies and personalized medicine, they're the cures of tomorrow. So I am concerned about patient access to future innovations if this is going to be the approach going forward, and this can have a chilling effect on the therapeutic space. And I think recently you just kind of touched on it. Is you don't see them pay attention to the long-term benefit and what I might consider dynamic scoring. In other words, something may cost now, but what it saves in treatment later. And the treatment that was mentioned before for hepatitis C is a classic example of that. You don't need a liver transplant. You don't need all this palliative type of care. And catching this early can make such a huge difference. So we have a Healthy Futures Task Force, and I'm the subcommittee chair for treatment. So this falls right into this. And we released a request for information. We've received quite a few responses expressing concern with this proposed NCD, if you will. So we're looking forward to hearing more from others, but we want to expedite and not hinder patient access to new innovation, new drugs, new devices, new diagnostics, every step of the way. And Alzheimer's disease is just a significant unmet medical need that would make a huge difference as we get better. And, as a physician, I've seen it happen over time as you have medications that either slow down or stop something in its tracks. And then eventually you can maybe get to a cure, which is even better yet. So if I can go to the question, Mr. Schultheis, you mentioned in your testimony that clinical developments for Alzheimer's fail about 99.5% of the time. So that could be a little bit of a hard sell, right? And I certainly think that what is taking place here, when you actually get something approved by the FDA and then it's not covered, makes it even tougher. So describe the impact on the notion that for a lot of new drugs, there are minimal odds that you're going to succeed, and hardly anyone succeeds on the first try. But what kind of an impact are we going to see from this decision, do you think?
Well, what we're looking at, if you look for the entire cohort of all clinical trials, the organization BIO did a very large study 5 years ago where they looked at over 19,000 clinical trials. And what they found is for all classes of new molecular entities, these are the innovative new drugs that are patented with the FDA, they found a 92% failure rate, which is only an 8% success rate. And that's across all classes of treatment. If you get into the neurological disorders, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, unfortunately, it gets pretty grim. The numbers are very, very bad. And really, it's just, yes, it's a huge market, but the fact is it's a challenge that people are willing to risk because they're willing to take a punt given the fact that there is a potential for a return on investment. But you're going to limit your investments to those levels of cash which justify the risk. What you find with Parkinson's disease, for example, from 2009, all neurological disorders reached their peak. And by 2014, neurological disorders as a class in all the major pharmaceutical industries had halved from 2009 to 2015. So we're already seeing a huge decline. What this ruling would do, what this guidance would do, and this is something that's very particular to the amyloid thesis, is It takes 10 years for the amyloid plaques to build up. And once you hit that plateau, and this is research from Peter Jelle-Visser in the Netherlands, who's one of the leading experts, who gave several peer-reviewed studies on this, and I worked with them on a panel. It's only after you reach that peak after 10 years that you get detectable levels of cognitive decline statistically. So it's a time issue here. Without the accelerated approval, the companies are going to run out of patent life to justify the investment. And that is the challenge. It's the nature of the disease. It's the nature of the biomarker and the clinical implications of amyloid plaques. It takes a long time for them to develop, to be detectable and to be treated. And that's a very, very challenging thing. So without the accelerated approval, you're running out of the patent life to get that return on investment.
Well, and if we can do better on the diagnosing the level of amyloid plaque that's present, I think that it would expand the indications sooner, and obviously, based on what we're seeing, have a greater long-term effect, because sooner is better, and later it makes it more difficult. So I'm also very concerned too that this coverage applies to all of these types of treatments for amyloid in the treatment of Alzheimer's. You know, we've come so far to see the correlations there. And so to just shut it down like that is really heart-wrenching, really. And so I hope that we can do more. And I appreciate all the work that the Alzheimer's Association does, working closely with patients and families. And it's like anything else, the more patients that we can get into these types of treatments on a longer term, and I'm talking decades, we're gonna know a whole lot more. And it's a shame that this is being shut down, because at the end of the day, we'll probably improve on it and save money. If you're only looking at money, then you're probably gonna save money if you can keep people healthier longer. That I wanna yield back. Thanks so much.